Is belting harmful? If you've been around singing for a while, you've probably heard someone say that belting will ruin your voice. It's not said as much these days, but it still gets said. Honestly, it is one of the biggest myths in musical theater singing. So in this video, we're going to bust it wide open. You'll learn why belting itself is not harmful. In fact, it can be quite regenerative, healing, and can inform all the other ways of singing. We're going to find out what actually makes it dangerous and how those dangers can creep into all kinds of phonatory patterns and coordinations. And you're going to find out how to do it in a way that is sustainable for your voice, not only sustainable, but regenerative and even therapeutic, and in a way that builds balance and ease and efficiency, and like I said, informs all the other ways that you sing. Hey there, if you're new here, my name's Dan Callaway. I teach musical theater voice at Boston Conservatory at Berklee. More than 25 years kicking around on equity stages, more than 15 years helping singers get to work on Broadway, national tours, regionally, and around the world. And I'm very glad you're here with me today. All right, so historically, belting was quite misunderstood because it sounds powerful and intense. A lot of aesthetic values grounded in Western classical singing looked at belting as, I would say, maybe a more vulgar way of using the voice. Even if you read books like Great Singers on Great Singing, you'll hear sopranos say that they never use their chest voice, because I think one soprano said that it was vulgar to use her chest voice. Belting is, and I talk more specifically about what belting is and how it evolved in some other videos that I'll link in the description. But, a lot of singers had to figure out how to power their voice over a large brassy orchestra in a 1,000+ seat theater. And so you see how belting evolved and figured itself out over the course of the evolution, especially of the American and British musical theater. So a lot of times singers and teachers would lump all manner of compressed, strained, or shouty sounds into what they would call belting. So it got a bad reputation, and certain ways of coordinating what we would call belting would indeed be unhealthy. But what we're going to talk about today is not that. In reality, belting is just a specific coordination of the vocal folds and resonance shaping. It is not inherently harmful. And in fact, when done well and properly and really utilizing awareness of breath and resonance strategies, it's a really exciting way to sing, and it can offer a lot of balance, efficiency, ease, and regenerative vibrancy to the voice, and also inform other styles of singing. So belting, it is singing in mode 1 chest voice at a higher pitch range than you normally would hear. So when the voice would want to turn over naturally into mode 2, you're maintaining mode 1, and there's an increased density. You have a more closed quotient or a closed phase in the folds, where the folds are staying together a little longer than they normally would in more like a 50-50 flow phonation situation. So I'm going to walk you through this sort of voice map framework. You've got phonation, resonance, and breath. Okay, so phonation, the folds are vibrating in a thicker mode. You've got the thyroarytenoid and the cover of the folds both vibrating mode 1, and that coordination is being brought into a higher pitch realm, which sounds very exciting because you're expecting the voice just to sort of your mirror neurons are expecting the voice just to turn right over into head voice, and the voice is continuing to move up in its mode 1. So, hey, if I were moving higher, hey, it naturally wants to turn over, but if I'm, hey, you can feel it's got that more exciting quality. You can feel that the voice could break into mode 2. So you hear in your body, oh, that's a little risky. So I think it's an exciting sound. And resonance, the tract shaping. So there are various tract shapings. I did a whole video about the two kinds of belting, what I would call open versus closed belting. Again, I'll link that in the description so you can get a deeper dive on that. But yeah, usually the larynx is in a relatively higher neighborhood. The pharynx can either be quite narrowed, hey, or it can be quite open, hey. Both are belty land, so the open belt, hey, the closed, hey. Usually you're using brighter vowel qualities. When I say brighter, vowels that promote high frequencies, high overtone, like ah, eh, e, and even like an open belt, a, oh, still quite bright. That creates an acoustic energy that makes belting very efficient. Yeah, so I'm not really belting on around ooh. Around ooh vowel is not going to promote what we would call belting. That would be more of complete vocal technique would call that curbing. Ooh, where you have a more restrained effect. Complete vocal technique talks about that. It's really interesting to utilize that mode. And then breath, because you're setting up a very efficient vibration, a very efficient acoustic space, the breath is actually moving quite slowly. And that's where a lot of people get into trouble. Sometimes you hear a very powerful sound and you intuit that it needs a ton of support when the opposite is actually true. You have a very efficient closed phase situation going on with the folds and a very efficient acoustic shape welcoming the sound waves and utilizing them in a very bouncy and amplified fashion. So the way the air flows through is actually quite slow. So belting does share similarities with shouting and yelling. It does. Yelling and shouting is more sort of a blast of vocal energy, whereas belting is singing because we're measuring out that energy over time. It is artistry. So when someone says you just sound like you're shouting, it's really about, I guess, it's probably the unmanaged burst of air through a sound as opposed to that sound being calibrated in an artistic way. But the qualities of belting have feelings of yelling and shouting. Sometimes when I'm teaching a student, I'll say, go ahead and yell. You have to sort of give yourself permission to make these sounds. All right. So it's not belting itself that is harmful. It's how it's done. So here are three main ways that belting can become quite dangerous. So number one, like I was talking about, over-pressurizing your breath. Too much subglottal pressure. So if I'm making a sound like this, hey, hey, I don't need a lot of support coming from the torso muscle family. If I press it too much, hey, you can already feel that is creating more strain here than I need. And over time, that's not going to be sustainable. The extrinsic muscles of the larynx are going to come in and they're going to try to compensate for the load of pressure that I'm delivering up. I'm making very efficient vibrations here, very efficient acoustic track shaping. So we want to ask, you go to the body, you ask the body, how much support do I actually need for this phrase? Hey, hey, it's quite crazy. And you even feel, if you really pay attention, you can feel sort of like the downward pressure that this phonatory pattern creates. So you want to work with that. And it's always like finding those barriers, the barrier of what the vocal folds are doing, the barriers of what's going on in the tract that's setting up acoustic bottlenecks that are giving you energy. So you want to tune into those things and see how that feels. So overpressing breath, too much subglottal pressure, that is one thing that is not sustainable with belting. The other thing is really having an idea of trying to make the voice happen from this region, over squeezing in the folds, overpressing the phonation. So a lot of times like over muscling right there, thinking that that is what is required for belting. You'll be really surprised at how efficient it can be, how a little tiny bit of engagement yields a big result. So that's another thing, over squeezing. I'll demonstrate a little bit. So if you've got, I'm shy, I'm shy, from what's that musical? Once Upon a Mattress. So if I'm shy, so that's an ah vowel, really closed phase. The larynx is a little high, little bit of breath, very vibrant sound. But if I'm like, I'm shy, so that's that's pressing in the folds, that's some lateral medial squeeze also in the pharynx. Everything's so close together, so it gets confused. So that's why we really have to really clarify, larynx, pharynx, tongue, soft palate, understanding what all these different elements along the tract are doing, how they work together. Take some time, but it's worth taking the time to find out what's what. All right, so that's over squeezing in the folds, watch that. And also forcing high notes without a resonance strategy. What I mean by that is like not understanding. So like if I'm wanting to like belt high, let's say I'm gonna sing shy. But so my speech brain is going, I'm shy, kind of like an open ah. So if I'm going, I'm shy, so I'm trying to use a really open ah vowel. It's not so efficient here, yeah? So that resonance strategy doesn't work. If I just move my tongue into more of an ah position, it's going to bring that into focus. So I've got, I'm shy. So just the difference in the vowel is going to make a huge difference. So it's really understanding what's going to go on north of the folds. What is your soft palate doing? What's the narrowing of the tongue back into the pharynx doing? What is the tongue's relationship to the hard palate doing? How much teeth am I showing? How much jaw am I opening? All of those things are little levers that we can pull in EQ and find out results. So those are the things: overpressing breath, too much subglottal pressure, squeezing at the local level, thinking that it requires a whole lot of muscular effort here, and then also forcing high notes without a resonance strategy. Literally just like, if I just hammer this over and over and over, finally I'll get to, no, it's not going to work. Anytime you're practicing, look, the voice is resilient. The voice is flexible. Don't be afraid, but listen to your body. If any sound you make, ask, do I want to make that sound again? Does that feel like it's something I want to do again? If not, then we need to recalibrate. And if you can't figure out how to make it feel efficient, that's when we do need some help. So you want to reach out to a really trusted coach, trusted teacher with good ears, good technique, good understanding of physiology and the voice system, someone who can help you out, okay? All right, so yeah, but it's like with anything. I mean, it's not a direct analogy, but that's like saying running is harmful. So running, if I have really bad shoes or I'm pounding my feet into asphalt as I'm running rather than running with proper form, that's not sustainable. So with training, you can learn how to run well and to keep your body in alignment. All right, so some ways that you can keep belting sustainable and efficient. All right, so start with speech-like sounds. Everybody starts here. Everybody's like, hey, taxi! Oh, no, you don't. That's a big one that you hear all the time. Yeah, but they're done that way. They're used for a reason. So belting is coming out of an expression or a need to yell, hey, hey! Yeah, so just playing around with those things. And what are the emotional impulses that would elicit belting sounds? Okay, so you want to find that natural mode 1. Hey, ho! And then siren those pitches a little higher. Hey! And remember my larynx. I'm going to tell my larynx you can go wherever you want to go. You can come high as you need to. Yeah, you're going to be just fine. So start with those speech-like sounds, and then you'll use resonance shaping. So vowel choices, your tongue, and your pharyngeal adjustments. So for closed belt, ah, eh, e. Ah, eh, e. For open belt, eh, oh. Okay, so hey, hey, ho, or even hey, ho, just to give you a little higher sound, okay? So that's like your old school Broadway, yeah, that realm. And then for a more closed belt, hey, he, ho, yeah. So that's all eh, all right? So those are resonance shaping strategies. And so then you can literally just take that, hey, ha, he, silly things like that. So play around, notice the shape, yeah? So if I go, what doesn't work is like E or ooh. He, it's going to squeeze or go into mode 2. Hoo, I can make ooh work, but it's not like loving it, right? That's why a lot of times like ooh vowel gets turned into an I vowel in the mouth. Who? You! Like I'm singing you. Yeah, all right, boom. I'm going down the rabbit trail. It's a little late, so my brain, you're getting like nighttime Dan brain right now. Okay, so speech-like sounds. Hey, accessing. Looking at your resonant shape. Manage your breath, okay? So again, I'm making this really efficient shape. How much breath do I actually need to create this sound? Usually not a lot, okay? So with belting, there are different strategies, right? I can do sort of like a navel-driven support, floaty ribs. Hey! That's one way, but I can also close my ribs a little bit. That gives me a little bit more breath pressure depending on the sound I want to make. Hey! So here's belly button. Hey! Here's ribs. Hey! It's a little bit more pressurized with the ribs. So that's something to think about as well. The strategy you want, again, it's going to depend on who the character is, what the circumstance is, what the phrase is, what it's calling for. The good thing is that you have different ways of moving air out, all right? I have a video on different ways of moving air out. You can I won't link all my videos, but if you just go to my YouTube station, tune into my YouTube station. If you go to my YouTube channel and just search for breath, you'll find the one, I think it's like Solve Breath Forever or something, and you can figure that out. All right, cool. And then, yeah, build gradually. So like say if you have a goal to sing, to belt A4, make sure that you're feeling like F sharp and G really solid. And then in the next week, I'm gonna stretch into G sharp, A flat. The next week, I'm gonna stretch to A. Yeah, there's also another video on the channel about increasing range in mode 1, okay? So look, if you're like, I can't find the video, just put it in the comments and I'll link it for you. I don't want to overwhelm you in the description with all the links. Yeah, build gradually. And you'll be surprised at how quickly, when you're using the tools that we're talking about, how quickly things can build. And then, intermittently between you want to give your voice a lot of release. So if you might want to do like a little belty slide and then a little visit up to your head voice. So like, hey, ooh, hey. That's a really nice little release. I think that's why Alanis Morissette's voice is in such great shape, because she's been popping into mode 2 in her style. And I feel like her voice is very balanced for that. I heard her sing last summer. She just sounded amazing. So that's a good strategy. Yeah. And then you want to put in some nice SOVTs. Anything through the nose is really nice. So those just to balance. Give yourself balance as you work, all right? So listen to your body, pay attention, make sure, okay, what I'm doing is sustainable or not, all right? The bottom line is this: belting itself is not harmful. It is a coordination. And honestly, the things that you could do that are not helpful while belting, you could also do the very same things singing in mode 2 head voice as a classical singer, in mode 1 chest voice as a classical singer. The truth is, classical singers sustain the same rate of vocal injury and pathology as singers of any other style. It's just that a lot of times in the Western classical world, it's still quite taboo. And so many singers are encouraged not to share their vocal struggles. I have a colleague at the conservatory who did an entire presentation and shared her story of working with a vocal injury. And she walks alongside singers who have struggled with that, and she sings beautifully. So I just want you to know that people recover from vocal injury, people recover from surgery, they come back, and I think that you even have a deeper appreciation for the gift of being able to sing when you've been through an event like that. So anyway, just so that you know that belting is not some special category of risky singing. You can sing in unhelpful ways in all the ways, okay? So it's not about the actual coordination of the singing. It's about how you're coordinating it. How are you providing breath? How are you understanding phonatory pattern? How are you utilizing resonant strategy? Is that creating an efficient, sustainable way of singing that you can do over and over every day? All right. When you understand the systems, body, breath, phonation, resonance, articulation, overall artistry, identity, who I am, what do I believe is happening? How does that drive my body's energy and the vocal tract choices that I make? You can then train belting in the same way you would train any other skill. So with awareness and healthy technique, belting is a very exciting, expressive sound that you can make. We can feel it with our mirror neurons. We can feel the precision and risk in the sound, risk being that it could immediately break into mode 2 any moment. It is a heightened emotional sharing, and it's just very exciting. It's fun to experience. It's fun to hear. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to go deeper into understanding your own systems of your voice, check out the resource library. It is full of tools and continuing to grow with tools and exercises to help you belt, mix, sing across your whole range with confidence and skill and courage. You'll find the link down in the description. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss the next video in this series. We're going to talk about why mix, another hot term, why mix is not a third register and what it is. We're going to build a little bit more on describing mix from a vocal systems framework. And obviously reach out with any questions you've got. If anything I said didn't make sense, put that in the comments. I love to clarify for you in the comments if you have any questions. And if you want to know more specifics on the origins of belting, the differences between open and closed belt, I will link that video for you right here. And most of all, as I always say, remember there is objectively only one you, and somebody would love to hear the story only you can sing. Love much. Now go sing.